long journey getting there, and you're working your way all the way to the top. Never knew that what it meant to become, you know, a NASCAR driver at the top of that level until I got there. Every level, every step I took, I thought was my last one, as high as I could go. And I always looked at it as, if I don't go any higher than this, I've got higher than I thought I was ever going to get anyway. And throughout my life, every time one road ended, another road began. The bad thing about it is you go on that journey of getting there, and you don't look back till you're there. Just think about one thing, and that was just driving that car, you know, and you felt like you were part of it, and I don't know, you get in that seat and you just melt, you know. I'm Jeremy Mayfield, and this is my side of the story.
What was the substance that Jeremy Mayfield tested positive for? And Ryan McGee broke the story today.
Joining us now is Ryan Mayfield. Jeremy Mayfield and NASCAR.
It's inevitable that no matter what the outcome of the trial of Mayfield versus NASCAR, this driver's career is over.
Some in his hometown can't believe a person who had so much faces the possibility of losing it all.
Hate to see him lose all that.
I feel bad for him.
Now, Adderall, though, just to be clear, it is not what Jeremy's being penalized for.
One doctor says if Mayfield had the amount of meth in his system that NASCAR says he did, he'd be dead.
There is a chance that pseudoephedrine, which is the active ingredient in Claritin, mixed with amphetamines, which is what Adderall is made of, could possibly look like a positive for methamphetamines. Unfortunately, we don't know actually if it's banned by NASCAR or not because we haven't seen NASCAR's banned substance.
That's a very good
He and
point.
his wife Shana want you to consider that there's more to their story than what you've heard. Mayfield says NASCAR made an example out of him to show off their beefed-up drug policy.
Because he's a good guy. Everybody knows he knows that. You look at him. You see meth addicts. You see what it says meth about him? Nothing. I mean, it's just unfair because there's people in this sport that do that, but that do drugs. Everybody knows it, but they're the golden boys and they don't have to buy by the rules. You know, so they just pick. Let's use him as an example and just ruin their lives and ruin our lives, basically, you know, as parents. So.
For some, you got to imagine hard to believe that NASCAR would go to these lengths to
it probably would be indict one driver. It probably would be hard to believe. But when it all comes out, you'll believe it. I believe it all began in 2006, I think. I just signed a contract extension with Abraham Motorsports, and at that time, Ray had hired a developmental driver, a female developmental driver, because he was part of the diversity program with NASCAR. The whole team noticed that Ray was spending a lot of time with our developmental driver. Everybody knew that it was more than just a driver development program. You know what I mean? You might as well come clean here, because he had a wife and kid. You know, and it's going to get back, and they try to get it out of me, and that's how it all happened. The media was just getting closer and closer and closer to figuring it out. They were asking us about it, and I said, I don't know, you know, I don't know, I don't want to get in the middle of it, I don't know, for like 2 months. So I just said, I don't know, I haven't talked to Ray. Next morning, I get up, and it's on the front page of the Chicago paper. It says Mayfield says Abraham's an absentee car owner. And I knew right then that would be the last time I ever sat in a 19 car. I could have just played the game. And I look back, this is my fault. My fault. I wasn't a politician, like I said day one. I'm not, you know, if you come to me and ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. You know, I probably should have shut my mouth that day and just turned and walked back in the trailer, and this probably would never happen. But I did. I said what was on my mind. He thought he was just going to fire me and he wasn't going to pay me nothing. Well, we ended up going to court that same week, and
we won the injunction, so either Ray had to pay Jeremy or put him back in the car, and obviously he wasn't going to put him back in the car. And he was up in Watkins Glen with some NASCAR officials along with Brian France, and Brian France was really pissed about the situation. Things just seemed like it was going downhill from there. I was just getting blocked in every direction, and that's when I really felt like I was starting to get, or had been blackballed. We just, at that point, you start getting this really bad gut feeling that we're screwed in the big picture. We were hoping you're not, but you're like, there's something so off here. Yeah.
A driver seemingly forgotten about by many organizations
has formed his own organization with just 12 crew members and takes on NASCAR's strongest team.
So in 2009 came around and didn't have a ride, and I thought, well, I guess we just start our own team. And this was like January, and some crazy idea came up that we'll just go buy a bunch of cars and trailer and truck and put some guys together and go to Daytona, and that's what we did.
Been a Daytona 500, brother.
Jeremy Mayfield unofficially will qualify for the 51st running of the Daytona 500.
Can't thank y'all enough. I'll tell you, it's an awesome job.
That was probably one of the highlights of my career, to be able to take something from nothing. We had nothing. And 2 weeks later, we're sitting there in Daytona going.
And we had a sponsor.
We made a race. So, yeah, we got a sponsor, and then so everything was looking great.
When we started the race team, I knew Jeremy would have a lot more on his plate because I can only do so much. Him being Jeremy, he was going to have to be involved in sponsor meetings and, emails and talking to people, and that's never been his strong suit. I've known for a long time he had ADD or ADHD, just being around him. I kind of was worried about what would happen with the race team if he wasn't focused. So at my suggestion, I said, maybe you should go get evaluated, get checked out. And he was off he was way off the charts with ADHD.
So we did all that. Now they put me on Adderall. In 2009 was really the first year that they implemented their new drug testing policy. We knew that somewhere down the line there, all the drivers felt like somebody was going to be the fall guy for the deal. In Richmond we're out there practicing, and I get done that day, and they come over, and you need to go to the trailer. Okay, for what? Your random drug test. I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. Their policy states that if you are taking something, if you get chosen for your random, call and let them know. So I got on the phone with the guy that owns the lab, Dr. Black. Jeremy's Dr. Black. Hey, Dr. Black, how you doing? Not too bad. What'd you need? Well, I'm just letting you know, you told us in Daytona that if we started, got tested to let you know what we're taking, and I've started taking Adderall. And I'm just going to let you know that, let the guy know. Adderall? What's a person your age doing taking Adderall? Why would you be taking Adderall? I'm stunned. I was kind of like, I said, for ADD? He said, you've been all these years and you never had it, you never took nothing for ADD. Why would you start now? I'm like, real defensive. I'm like, well, I got assessed and my doctor put me on Adderall, And he goes, well, that don't seem right. He said, person your age should not be taking Adderall, da da da. I said, okay, fine, I won't take it no more. Whatever. This week, he said, we'll look at it and I'll let you know. You'll be hearing back from us. I said, okay. I said, one other thing. He said, what's that? I said, on my way here to Richmond, it's the only time it's happened. The whole year.
I literally had to drive him because he was over here like this.
That time of year, my allergies would get so bad, and my eyes would itch and water and run, and my nose would run. And once my nose starts running, it just has to go through a cycle all day. So Thursday, right before on my way to Richmond, my allergies getting bad. So I took a Claritin D. Well, you did? He said, yeah, now we got a problem. Dr. Black's exact words. Now we got a problem. What do you mean problem? He said, it looks to me like you're trying to get stimulated for these races. All right, this is a guy, doesn't know me. I only talked to him on the phone, and he's already telling me you shouldn't. His opinion was made up. I got a phone, and I told Shana, I was like, well, it's either going to be real good or it's going to be real bad because it didn't sound good, I didn't understand, So about 6:30 Thursday night, we're on our way to Darlington. We're going back to the racetrack, driving, right? And on the way, get a phone call, and it's a guy named Dr. Ackerman or something. He was the MRO, the medical review officer. Jeremy, this is so-and-so Ackerman. Hey, man, how's it going? Good. You tested positive for amphetamines. Yep, I figured I would. I told Dr. Black that. Okay, so tell you what you need to do is get your assessment report, blah, 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 your
prescription history,
send it to me, fax it to me. He said, and we'll look at it, and then everything will be fine. I said, well, what do you mean everything's fine? I said, so that's all we need? He said, yeah. He said, we'll do that. We'll turn your test into a negative test. Instead of positive, it's negative now. Cool. Okay, bud. Thank you. But hang up. She's right there, heard every bit of it. And we're driving back home, and Saturday morning, get a call, and it's John Darby. I say, hey, John, what's going on? He's at the racetrack. He said, oh, not much. Got some, you tested positive for your drug test. I said, yeah, I've been working with him. I told him that, He said, well, you're suspended indefinitely from NASCAR. Just like that. So I called Dr. Black. I want to know how I can get reinstated now, you know? He said, well, that's all going to depend. I said, what do you mean depend on what? He said, well, the press conference is coming up here in like 30 minutes. Press conference? Yeah, they're having a press conference at the racetrack. I said, about me failing a drug test? He said, yeah. Y'all are going to announce that I failed to tested positive on my drug test. And I'm not even there to defend myself. Well, it depends on how you handle the media, determines on how quick you get reinstated. Exact words, strike me dead right now. I said, so you're telling me that after y'all's press conferences, y'all just say whatever you want to say, and they come interview me, depending on what I say, is how quick I get reinstated? He said, unfortunately, yes. And I said, well, let me tell you this is going to get big. So at that time, I'm thinking, you know, my family, my fans, everyone I've ever met, everyone I've ever talked to, was going to hear that Jeremy Mayfield failed a drug test.
His mom's driving home to Kentucky.
Well, I mean,
and
yeah.
She hears it on the radio. We hadn't even had time to tell family. My parents are still in Darlington. My dad calls Jeremy. Jeremy's crying. Then he gets me on the phone and I'm crying. And he's like, tell Jeremy to suit up. Somebody failed their drug test. He can get in the car. And I have to like...
This isn't going to go away overnight. It's not going to... This isn't something that's just going to... Everybody's going to forget about tomorrow. You know, you have a lot of press conferences, it's over and it's done. This is huge. You know, this is big. I mean, this was my life. Everything we worked for. You know, I'll take the fall for a lot of stuff, and probably would have done a lot of things for the sport, and have done a lot of things for the sport. I've kept quiet on a lot of occasions. I've never said a word, and but the Monday morning came around. It was just getting worse. It was getting worse. It was getting worse.
Through all this time, Jeremy, honestly, we reached out to Dr. Black. His doctor reached out to Dr. Black. His doctor reached out to the MRO. We could not get a copy of anything.
Right. No
not
test
a drug
results,
test.
nothing. They just told me.
Yeah, because we were like, well, let's see it. Like, we couldn't get anything.
What we started figuring out was there's no other companies involved. No B sample gets sent anywhere, and it goes through one guy, Dr. Black. He's the one that because in different sports you have to protect your athletes.
Your superstars.
It's not like Major League Baseball. You know, it's not like Major League or
NFL.
Yeah,
we don't have unions or anything to protect
because they got unions to protect them. About Thursday, we get a thing in the mail saying that I'm going to sign. I got to sign this paper for Dr. Black saying I will enter into their road to recovery. That's admitting that you're guilty. Look, now we're going to send you down this road to recovery. And I'm like, for what? You know, for what? Hell, the damage is done now. Y'all done had your press conference. You done told the world that I failed my drug test. What else can you do to me? You know what I mean? Now you're going to send me to road to recovery? Shana comes to me and she goes, you're going to fight this, aren't you? I said, that's all I need to hear, you know? And I told her, I was like, you realize that when we say we're going to fight this, you know, and I was making sure she was with me. And I said, you don't understand what I'm saying. What I mean is all in. Everything you see, everything we got, and this was 5 days after all this happened. I said, it means we're taking every bit of it and we got to go like this. That's what could happen. After I didn't sign the paper for Dr. Black, we got an attorney. As soon as we started to fight back, that's when it turned into meth. It was amphetamines, and then as soon as we got an attorney, it was methamphetamines.
Logically, you start thinking this thing through and you say, okay, first thing is if the MRO calls you and says, Jeremy, you've tested positive for amphetamines, is what he said. But if it had been, Jeremy, you've tested positive for methamphetamine, please send me your prescription for that. Who the hell doctor writes a prescription for methamphetamine? You don't get a prescription for methamphetamine. So why would it matter if we sent every assessment report? Why did he need his prescription history? Why did he need everything from his doctor if it was methamphetamine from the beginning? It was amphetamine from day freaking one until the day we retained an attorney.
And looking back, you do all this, you fight your battles, we stay up at night, you do your research, you get attorneys, you do all this stuff. At the end of the day, that didn't matter. At the end of the day, it come down to who knows who and who knows, you know, who to get in touch with. And
the whole story, I don't think, even though these little things that may have happened and were misinterpreted this way, I mean, it still it wasn't, I don't think there's enough reasons or enough you could do to piss me off or piss him off to where I could just destroy someone's life.
For them to just ruin your name and your reputation is something I gotta fight for now, and I gotta take back. You know, and I gotta get back that I've accepted it. I'm ready to move on. I've hit rock bottom. We have. We're still standing. And I'm probably more proud of sitting here right now, looking in that camera and saying, we didn't go down. You know, and we are still standing, and we are going to take it back. And there's not a lot of people can say that.